Happy holidays! It's December already, and we're ready for our next Ask Tamily interview, which is going to be with Tracy. Her Instagram name is Tracy Pie, TracyPI. So if you're not following her, go follow her after you watch this interview, of course. And of course, as always, we have several questions planned for Tracy, but we would love for you to type in any questions that you have live, which is always really fun. There's a lot of you that come up with some really cool questions, so type them in and we will scroll through at the end to make sure that we get to all of them if we don't get to them during the interview. So we should have Tracy joining in just a second, and then we will get started with learning more about Tracy, which should be really exciting. I know one thing I want to ask her about, which I actually don't think we have in the questions, but she was recently on a trip to Australia, so we're going to find out about that just as soon as we have her. Okay, there she is. Just need a moment to connect. Okay. It should be connecting. It says we're waiting for Tracy. There we go. There's a split screen. Excellent.
There we go. I can hear you now.
Yes, it always takes a minute.
Okay.
So now we can begin. Welcome to your Ask Tamily interview, Tracy. We're very excited to have you. Thank you for taking some time on your Saturday for us.
Of course, I'm so excited.
Well, what we like to do is jump right in with our favorite question. So we'll start with, when and how did you start the Tracy Anderson method?
I started approximately 7 years ago. And I started with Meta, and then went right into continuity. So I was in New Orleans, and there on a trip with my family, and my son fell ill, and I was in the hotel room, and he was sleeping, and I was just going through the channels on the TV, and there was the infomercial that many of us have seen. And I had heard a few things and seen a few interviews, and I felt like this was the universe's way of saying, okay, because I'd kind of been thinking about it. And at that point, I said, I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this. I'd been a runner for a long time. I did some other programs, and I just didn't feel like anything was quite ticking all my boxes. So I signed up for Meta, went through that, and continued with continuity. And then continuity ran out, and streaming became the new continuity, which I was a bit surprised by, because I'm a creature of habit, which many of us in the Tamily are. That's why this method works so well for us. I was unsure about streaming, and I look back at that and I think I'm just crazy for not joining, for not just embracing streaming right away. But it was just making that switch. So I've been doing the method for about 7 years.
That's amazing. What kind of results have you seen over that time?
I have seen just really satisfying results in terms of my overall health. I used to get sick often. I used to get colds. I used to get bronchitis at least a few times a year. And with this method, that has all been but reduced to maybe one cold a year. That is crazy for me. I think it's the expectation too that I'm working out more days of the week, which my body is responding to very well. Working out 5 or 6 days a week, taking rest days when I need them, keep going if I don't feel like I need it. But I've seen the design work in my body in great ways. Not bulking up my body. I could easily be a bodybuilder with my body style type. I muscle up, I bulk up really easily. So the lean muscle, the lines, I'm abcentric, seeing some lines in my abs is really exciting. I've had 5 children, so that's even more rewarding because that skin has gone through a few exercises of its own. So I've really seen the design take hold. And two of the areas where I'm most satisfied is in my bust. It's like been a natural lift for me.
Wow.
That was such a bonus. Like, I just feel like my shoulder area, my shoulder girdle, my bust, just naturally have been lifted. Again, which at my age and childbearing and the things that my body has been through has been, that's been amazing. And then I never had a butt in my life. I had a flat butt growing up, as a teen and a young adult, and now I feel like I've got some butt. And I got some back finally. So that's... those are really great things for me to see some extra tone and definition where I want to see it, and see some of the streamline effect where I really want to see it too.
Definitely. That's amazing. And your point about the colds, that's such an interesting thought, because I do think, even if you still might occasionally, get a bug or something, I think your body is better able to handle it, get you through it. It really does improve your immunity to exercise on a regular basis.
It does, and the sweat, being able to incorporate some heat and humidity, which I've done in the last 2 years or so, I think that really makes a huge difference. And that's a surprising result for me, because I've been exercising most of my life. So for me to have that greatly reduced is just an added huge bonus.
Yeah, definitely. So being that you've done the method for 7 years, which is a very long time to be dedicated to this method, and obviously we have a lot of Tamily members that have done the method for that long, but what would be your advice for someone that's brand new to the method?
My advice would be to go slowly, and be patient with the process. I think that, we live in an instant gratification society, and where we want to see things work really quickly. And this method, it takes a while to lay down the foundation. And then once you do, it just starts taking hold. But it's one of those things like hang in there for 90 days and then see what comes next, and then see what comes next. Because for me, I just keep turning corners and seeing different results. So I think patience is key, and being generous and being kind to yourself, and knowing that some days are going to be hard. Some days are going to feel like, oh, okay, I got this. And knowing that, and not feeling like it has to be accomplished all at once.
Yeah, that's a huge message, because sometimes we get that message from other people in fitness that are like, 6 weeks to the perfect body, and Tracy's like, that's not going to happen. You have to do this every day, and you have to be consistent for your whole life. And going through it, and especially listening to someone like you that's done the method for that long, that you keep seeing results and keep seeing changes. Like, we don't hit a plateau with this workout, but even, several years into it, you're still seeing differences.
Yes, that is what's so exciting to me. Like, oh my gosh, what's coming next? What door will I open up next?
Yeah, exactly. Do you have any particular tips for people to do the method while they're traveling, especially going into this time of the year?
Yes. Gosh, I've traveled with this workout around the world. It has gone with me from everywhere, from Paris to Kuala Lumpur to Thailand to Mexico, really, literally around the world. And my tips are, again, to be flexible with your expectations. hey, if you can work out every day, if it works out in your schedule, that's great. If you can get it in 2 or 3 days, that's better than not doing it at all. Traveling with the weights is great, but maybe you just want to travel with the small weights, or maybe you want to travel with a whole set. One of my traditions that I do, and this may not be practical for everybody, is I have a couple old sets of weights, and so sometimes when I travel, I just leave the weights where I am.
Oh.
I keep saying that we need to start up an Airbnb network that would have weights. You go into the place, it's got the mat, it has the space, it has the weights, it has everything you need to do. It's like, hey, if you do the Tracy Anderson method, we've got it all laid out for you.
Yeah.
And also just getting creative, using water bottles for weights, or just using different things for hand weights, or the leg weights for the hand weights, and improvising.
Okay.
And not feeling like, again, you're on vacation, you're traveling, or if you're traveling for work, you don't have to feel like you have to do the whole thing. You're not in your natural habitat, you're maybe not in your natural space. Improvise and try to be creative and do the best you can.
That's great advice, especially going into this time of year, and you might not have the space, you might not be able to take a 60-pound suitcase with you, but those are some great tips to at least try to get it done.
And your family might not like it either, especially this time of year. It's the holidays, you may be visiting with family. Sometimes our family members think we're just a bit over-dedicated anyway. And it's really funny to see, and interesting to see how different family members look at what we're doing. And some embrace it readily and think it's great, and others are like, oh my gosh, can you just, take a break? But understanding that, if you can take that time for yourself when you're on vacation, or if you're on the road working, or if you're visiting family, that's going to be an important space and time that you set aside for yourself.
Yeah.
That, hey, this is my little chunk of time. And then the rest of the time, when I do that, I feel like I'm all in with everybody and everything. Then I feel more able to give of myself to other people throughout the day, or throughout that time when I'm there.
Right, exactly. It's just 1 hour of your day. It's 4% of the day. You deserve that, and everybody else can have the 96.
Yeah.
But definitely, that's a great point.
Yes.
What is your favorite thing about the Tracy Anderson method?
I think it would be just that it is portable. I think there's 2 favorite things that I love. That I can take this workout anywhere, anytime. That's one of the things that I liked about running, is that I could do it anywhere I was. And I can do the same thing with this method. So I don't bring my weights. I can still do the method without weights, and it's just as effective. It works great without weights. We know we're challenged without the weights. As long as I have Wi-Fi or a downloaded class, I can do this workout. And the other thing that I like about this is that it is, there's never a dull moment, right? It changes every week. We get a whole new menu of options, weekly and monthly. Just when I think like, okay, I've done that, and okay, here's something new comes along. This week it's the infamous Headstand, which was in the original challenge that got me on Instagram in the first place. It was in the Eat Your Mama, I Eat Your Mama. What was it? The Eat Your Mama challenge, the J-Lo.
Yeah. It was J-Lo, yeah.
The J-Lo challenge, and that's what originally brought me to the Tamily on Instagram.
Okay.
And I remember there was, I think it was with double weights though, a headstand, and thinking, okay. But that's the greatest thing about this method, I think, is that these moves are laid out for us, and with the intention of us progressing through them. And so maybe the first day I don't nail it, maybe the second or third day, maybe the fourth day I'm getting half of it, and maybe by the end I don't totally get it, but I'm way farther along than I would have been if I hadn't tried it at all. And there's other times where I'm like, wow, I just really surprised myself. I just did something that when I first looked at it seemed impossible. So that's another thing that I really appreciate about this method, is those challenges that are given to us, and that, we're able to rise to that challenge every time.
Yeah, it's really amazing to me, especially because it's like every week, and it doesn't matter how long you've done the workout, there's something that looks crazy. Like, I'm never going to be able to do that. And then you can do it.
Yeah. I think that's such a cool thing, to throw those things out there, and the way that Tracy does it is so much like, this is just part of the dialogue. This is what we're doing. There's no fanfare. It's just matter of fact. Here we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it's time for a headstand in the middle of the workout.
with weights, mind you. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking I should take my weights off my ankles and try it, and it might work a little bit better.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Why is your workout personally important to you?
It's important to me because it's my time that I dedicate to my well-being. It's my time that hopefully is uninterrupted. I tend to work out early in the morning. There are less interruptions early in the morning. But it's my time that I set aside for myself, to improve myself, to give myself a physical boost, to give myself a mental boost. And I think that it's so important to have something that I can own at the end of each day. And it's also something, in my line of work, I don't necessarily see a completed project every day. For me, this is a completed project every day. It's like making a meal. From start to finish, it's something I can do and see results and know that I've accomplished something.
That's a great point, too. It is really something when, you complete any of the workouts. It doesn't even matter if it's advanced, beginner, whatever it is. You really do feel like, oh my gosh, I achieved something amazing today. And that's such a special part of this particular method. So thinking a little bit about the method, and now we know that you did meta and continuity and then now streaming. How has dance cardio played a role throughout your journey?
Well, all during meta and continuity, I did the dance cardio. And my sister sometimes came over and joined me, and she called it the jump around. Or for her, she called it the gong show. And I loved all that dance cardio as part of continuity. And again, feeling at the end of the 90 days like I was able to do it. The first couple weeks I was just kind of, picking it up, learning as I went along. And then I continued to do some of the dance cardio, but not on a regular basis. And for me, it was more seasonal. Like, okay, so I live in Michigan. It's cold here in the winter. I'm not going to run or do any other sort of cardio. And so for a couple of years, I pretty much alternated that. Where I did more outdoor cardio with the method. But lately, I've come back to the dance cardio just because I love all the options. I really love the multitask cardio because, again, it reminds me a lot of the meta continuity cardio. I did it a lot last year, too, and I feel like I love the results I see when I'm doing cardio. It's different than any other cardio. It's different than running or walking or biking or anything else.
Right.
I love the results I see from cardio, and I also really enjoy all the options. I just did a Catalyst class yesterday. Today I did multitask. What am I up to? What do I feel like? The other day I did the low impact, which those are absolutely a joyful option too. What a great thing to have. But I fit it in maybe 3 days a week.
Okay.
Maybe 4 if I'm extra overly ambitious, but about 3 days a week feels good to me.
Okay. Excellent. So when it comes to the actual streaming, do you mostly stick to advanced, intermediate? How do you do that part?
I primarily stick to the advanced masterclass, which has a new name this week. I haven't gotten used to all those new names. So I primarily stick to that, but I do go to IMC frequently. probably once a week, especially on a Wednesday if we've had a really tough week and I'm feeling muscle fatigue. If I'm just feeling run down, if everybody's raving about the class, I don't want to miss out. Serious FOMO, like, really, it's that good? I want to know about it. And if anybody said anything ever about there being good abs in a class, I'm going to do it, whether it's beginner, intermediate, or whatever. Okay. I only do one class. I don't stack classes. I know some people do that. Mm-hmm. I do one class at a time. When I sit down for a session, I feel like an hour is good enough for my body. I love the multitask option too. I think that's a great addition to our menu of options. But primarily I'll do the advanced master class with the addition of the intermediate, maybe 1 or 2 days a week.
Okay. So we talked about this next question kind of a little bit, but we definitely want to know, what do your friends and family think of the Tracy Anderson method?
Well, my friends and family, they're pretty much used to it now. I have a son he'll be 21 this month, and he said, "Well, Mom, you are part of a cult." And it was funny. Kimmy, who I met in Miami, and we hung out there. She said, "Well, we kind of are," I think they know how much completing this exercise every day means to me. Doing this exercise means to me. They see how I feel and I look. So I think that supports and speaks for itself. And then, so they've just understood. And my youngest is, she's 12, so most of her life she's seen me do this method. She's used to it. My husband's really supportive. My friends, they will comment on my videos on Instagram and make funny comments like, "Oh, that's an awesome outfit," or "You forgot your shirt," or "You're wearing your kid's shirt if I wear a crop top." So they enjoy, they enjoy kind of poking fun and making fun of me. But it's hard to deny the results. I mean, they see that I'm happy doing this method. They like it, but they just see the devotion and they're like, "Okay, there she goes." I have a college-age daughter, and she's got a lot of her friends who follow me on Instagram and watch my videos and will comment and say, "Oh, hey, Tracy Pie, I saw what Tracy Pie did this morning." So, it's kind of become a whole family effort. My parents think it's great. They're super supportive. They've been active people their whole lives. So I think anything that keeps me happy and feeling fit, everybody's supportive.
That's awesome. It's really, really wonderful, too, to have, your children watch you being dedicated to a fitness method, regardless of what the fitness method is. They just grow up knowing that's important and that it's good and it's fun, and it's not that, exercise is something to dread, it's something that you should do. So to think about that with your daughter, like seeing you since she was 5 years old, that's awesome.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think like for her, it's funny. She'll get down on the floor and she'll invent her own Tracy Anderson method moves. And she's a dancer. She just got home from doing a dance practice. She has practices even on the weekends. And I see her being a future Tracy Anderson trainer. Like she could do it. But it's so funny. Like she'll just sit down and kind of improvise and make up a move. I'm like, well, that could actually be in the workout. Right.
That's awesome. Our last planned question for you is an important one. Where do you live and what do you do?
Okay, so I live in Grand Haven, Michigan, North America. So what we do here in Michigan, we hold up our hand. So for those familiar with the Great Lakes, we hold up our hand. So over here is Detroit, kind of over here, about beneath the thumb. Okay. I'm on the exact opposite side. Over here, it's the Lake Michigan side. Okay. So I'm actually a little bit closer to Chicago. If you go down by the lake, I'm about 2.5 hours from Chicago. About 45 minutes from Detroit. So I live in a small resort town called Grand Haven, Michigan. I'll take my hand down now. It's got maybe 35,000 people here. It grows to about 10 times that size in the summer. It gets really busy here. A lot of people from the Chicago area and other areas, Indiana, other parts of Michigan come up here. For my profession, I am a therapist, a counselor, a psychotherapist. And I'm in private practice.
Awesome.
So I work, I started out working primarily with children. That evolved to working with teens. I love teen girls. I love teenagers, period. People think I'm crazy, but that's just my favorite. And so I love working with teens, but I work with adults. I work with all ages, really, and enjoy my work. I've just transitioned into private practice full-time.
Wow.
I'm doing it part-time and working a full-time job for a number of years, and decided that I was going to make that switch this summer. And I'm very happy that I've done so. So yeah, that's what I do for a living.
Awesome. There's so many different professions and amazing things that the Tamily does for the community, and especially something where you focus on female teenagers. That's fantastic. So thank you for that, and thank you for sharing. So obviously we know now that you live in Michigan, but you do travel a lot, and so I wanted to ask you about your recent trip to Australia, even though that's not on our list.
Oh, well, I can't. I would insist on talking about it because, gosh, if anybody saw, I was hanging out with the Tamily in Australia. How awesome is that?
Unbelievable. So how long were you there, and who all did you meet?
So I was there for 2 weeks, and Australia is somewhere I've wanted to go since I was 10 years old. And I told this story back when I was 10. My mom said, okay, so you want to go to Australia so badly, why don't you write the Australia Board of Tourism? And of course, back then there was no email. And I wrote my little letter, Dear Australia, I love you. I want to come visit you, or whatever I said. And then they sent me back a huge manila envelope of swag, maps and posters of koalas and buttons and stickers and guides, and that just made me want to go even more.
Yeah.
So I waited to do this for a long time, and I decided for my birthday this year, I bought myself a ticket and went.
That's amazing.
So I landed in Sydney, and I have a college friend who is in Sydney. But then from there, I flew north to Brisbane, which is in Queensland, and visited Heather Tamily. Yeah, of Hawk Hustle fame.
That's amazing.
Yes, I had reached out to her. I had said something. I had commented on her page when she was traveling. I said, shoot, I'm going to miss you. And she said, no, actually, we'll be back by then. And hey, come stay with me. And I said, okay, sure. Yeah, sounds good to me. And then we just kind of talked a little bit more, and as time grew closer, I said, yeah, I'd love to stay with you. And she invited me into her home, which is this new age kind of pen pal, right? My mom couldn't get over it. She said, wait a minute, you know this person for Instagram? Yeah. I said, yeah, Mom, but it's Tamily. Yeah. We're all legit. Come on. So I went to stay with Heather and her family. They welcomed me in, stayed in Brisbane for a few days. We traveled to a place called Noosa, which is a resort area, beautiful. You're talking subtropics, a tropical climate, gorgeous weather, gorgeous surroundings. And so she just did an awesome job hosting me, and I feel so just forever indebted to her. And hopefully I can return the favor when it comes time for them to come visit Michigan. So I was able to stay with her, and then from there I flew over to Perth and stayed in the Fremantle area just outside of Perth with Kat Tam Yoga, etc. Now is her name. And Kat and I hung out for a few days. Went glamping in the Margaret River area where there's wineries. We stayed in an olive farm. olive tree farm. And then we drove up and down the coast. She showed me all around. She's grown up in that area her whole life, knows it very well, and was basically my tour guide and my host. And again, welcomed me into her home. One of her friends said, "Kat, you're the only person I know that's turned Instagram into Airbnb." So as Happiness Through Tam says, I was living the dream. I was like, I'm in Australia and I'm seeing it from a local's perspective. I'm, getting shown around, getting the royal treatment, and enjoyed every single minute of it.
That is amazing. So cool.
It was.
So jealous.
And it was different climate. There were different climates everywhere I went. So, Sydney area was more oceanic climate.
Okay.
The Brisbane area had that tropical vibe.
Okay.
And then the Perth area has more of that Mediterranean kind of, it reminded me a lot of coastal California.
Okay.
And so different climates, but the people, the Australian people, I mean, gosh, they're giving Canadian people a run for their money. So nice, so nice. And just, I picked up a lot of lingo along the way too. I started a little notebook, notepad note on the Australian lingo.
So. Oh, that's so cool. God,
yeah.
I want to do the exact same trip. So
I highly recommend for anybody to do it, because it was really the trip of a lifetime to be able to do that. And I can't wait to go back.
That is really, really cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
So I did see a couple of questions that people typed in. Let's go through those. Let me see. Happiness Through Tam wants to know, where are you going to travel to next?
Well, I love Canada. It's like my second home. So I'm kind of tossing around some options right now about where I'm going to travel next. It may be Europe that I go to next, and also that may there may be a couple little trips, maybe summer fun for just vacation, like Mexico or something like that. But serious travel, I think next time may take me to Europe, partially because I have a daughter who it looks like will be studying in Madrid.
Oh, wow.
Starting in August next year. So, of course, if she's in Madrid, I'm going to have to go visit her.
Absolutely.
And how convenient, there's a studio there. So,
yes.
of course, when I mentioned that, she just rolled her eyes, like, oh, of course, it's not about me going and studying, it's about Tracy Anderson method.
It is. I mean, come on. It's very important to all of us.
Yes, it is. So, I've got a few ideas, haven't nailed anything down, but I love to travel, so I know that I'll be heading one of those ways soon. Canada's so easy; it's so accessible to us since we're neighbors, essentially.
Yeah.
So, and I had the joy of going to Toronto last August and meeting a couple Tamily members there, Happiness Through Tam, and Rebecca Wordsmith too. So met those ladies, and man, I could just spend hours and days with them too.
Yeah.
That's just the crazy thing, is we're such a it really is a network of incredible women and truly remarkable women. And the other thing that's continually surprising me is how welcoming the community is, how willing people are to go the extra mile for each other. It's an extraordinary group of people that practice this method, and the devotion that comes with it too. But the devotion to each other, and we know each other through Instagram, but then how we gain and learn about each other through these meetups that we have around the world.
Yeah, it's very amazing. It sounds to me like you should make a little map of all the people that you've met and where you've met them, because that is so cool.
Yes. I see Anna. I see Ariel Mama just said, come to Philly. I would love, that Vermont space looks great. So sign me up for that. I'll do that anytime. But yeah, you're right. You should start keeping all those maps and putting pins on it for all the places that I go. And my husband, when we were in Toronto last summer. He said, "Oh, we're going to meet who and we're going to do what?" And then afterwards, he's like, "Man, those ladies were awesome." I said, "Yeah, did you? I mean, come on. It's just a certain caliber of people that practices this method."
Exactly.
And really the generosity of this community and the openness and willingness is great. Hi, Iva. Oh my gosh, I just saw she joined.
See if there's any other questions in here. We've got a lot of hearts and smiley faces and waving. Let me make sure. I'm going to scroll all the way back.
Okay. I have this one piece of hair that's been sticking out this whole time.
It is so hard for me not to look at my hair the whole time that we're on these interviews.
Yeah. Stay here.
We have a lot of waving. Although we have a lot of comments and hearts and stuff, I don't think I see Happiness Through Tam said you look amazing. That's not a question though. I think that's all of the questions that were typed in. So if anyone else has another question, please go ahead and type it in now. And Tracy, while you have this audience, is there anything else that you would want to share or say to the Tamily?
I just want to share my love and appreciation. This community has just blown me away from the start. When I did the Ain't Your Mama Challenge, I just thought I was going to post these videos and that was it. I was going to kind of slink in Instagram every day, drop it. I'd get the heart from Tracy Anderson, so I knew that she saw it, and then hey Tracy, and love your name, and so I just thought I was gonna just do that challenge and kind of get in and out. And I took my profile public during that time. I figured I'd go back, and then people started commenting on my posts. And I thought, what is this? There's other people who do this method. There's that many people, and they're saying these sort of things, and the support and the love really took me by surprise. And now I'm just, and again, it continually uplifts me and brings me such joy to have that sort of interconnectedness with each other. But I really appreciate it. I really appreciate every single person who's part of this community.
Yeah, we are really, I think, one of the most amazing, or the most amazing community possible.
I think the most amazing. I don't know of any other community like this.
We have another question. Let me see. Ariel Mama said, I love Tracy's photography. Is it something she studied or just natural talent?
Oh, that's so sweet. The natural talent. It is, my dad was an amateur photographer, and so from the time he was little, I would, and when Lake Michigan freezes over, we get these kind of icebergs. I would go climb the icebergs with him. He'd get his macro lens out and take all these pictures, and he'd blow them up and put them in his office, and I would watch it. He was, we traveled a lot when I was just throughout my growing up years, and he would always bring his camera along and take pictures. So by the time I was about 12, I think 11 or 12, I got my own camera. And I started taking pictures. And then he gave me his camera eventually, which was really fun, when I was in college. And I took one class. I was around campus that summer, and I was working like a summer job, and I decided to take a class for credit. It was a photography class. So it was the kind from back in the day with film. We had to develop our own photos.
That's so cool.
In the black room, dark room. And I've loved that process ever since. And I've just been taking photos ever since. In the last couple of years, I've invested in some different equipment, which has really been fun. And I can see this is going to be a new addiction for me as well. That I'm gonna I just love it, and I love finding beauty in all the little nooks and crannies in nature and in our lives.
That's excellent. It's such a cool thing to learn about you, in addition to everything we've learned about the method and your work and where you live and your traveling, and you also have this other amazing thing to offer. So it just shows how amazing this community is and why we're doing all these interviews.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Let's see. I think that is our last question. So we want to thank you for your time today, and this interview is going to be shared on my live stream for the next 24 hours, and then Nicole will work her technical magic and put it onto YouTube for us, where it will be forever with all of the other Ask Tamily interviews. So thank you again very much, Tracy, for your time and sharing with us today.
Such an honor, ladies. Thank you for doing this. I just think it's such a cool thing that we're connecting on a deeper level like this and having these conversations. You've just put together a great platform to do that on, and I appreciate your work that you're doing.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate you and your inspirational spirit.
Well, thank you. Take care and have a great weekend.
You too. Bye,